The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 105.
What makes this specific chapter we are looking at so compelling isn't just the supernatural elements. It's the incredibly sharp observation of human nature.
Yeah, the psychology in this is wild.
It is. This narrative bridges the mystical realm of karmic retribution with a gritty, hyper-realistic courtroom thriller.
It really does read like a thriller.
It dissects social dynamics, the literal physical weight of a guilty conscience, and how the elite echelons of society often hide their darkest secrets behind, the thinnest veneers of respectability.
So we are tracing this multi-layered story from start to finish. We follow a man being crushed by what looks like a supernatural tragedy, and then follow this ragged monk as he uses pure psychological warfare to expose a corrupt elite.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. The story drops us immediately into a super high-stakes situation. We are in the private estate of a wealthy elder named Zhao Defang.
Okay.
It's this massive, sprawling complex, but the atmosphere inside is suffocating. A woman in Zhao's household is in labor, and it is a dangerously difficult birth.
And we have to remember, in the context of the Southern Song dynasty, and really anywhere in the ancient world, a complicated labor was not just a medical emergency.
Right.
It was an existential crisis. The maternal and infant mortality rates were staggeringly high back then.
Because there's no modern medicine, no hospitals.
Exactly. Without modern surgical interventions, a difficult birth often meant a slow, excruciating tragedy. The family would be burning incense, praying to ancestors, exhausting every local midwife's remedies.
The sheer panic in that estate would just be palpable.
Absolutely overwhelming.
So Zhao Defang is desperate, and right at the height of this panic, in wanders Jigong.
Our eccentric monk.
Yep. And he doesn't ask for a sterile room. He doesn't perform a grand, elaborate ritual to, flex his spiritual authority.
No, he's way too casual for that.
He really is almost disconcertingly casual about the whole thing. He just reaches into his ragged robes, pulls out a single pill, and tells Zhao to dissolve it in yin-yang water and give it to the mother.
Now, that instruction to use yin-yang water is a vital detail here.
I was hoping you'd bring that up, yeah.
Because in traditional Chinese medicine and philosophy, yin-yang water refers to a very specific mixture. It's half freshly boiled hot water and half cold, unboiled water, usually from a well or a river.
So hot and cold, active and passive.
Exactly. It represents a forced convergence of opposing energies, a literal balancing of dualities in a single cup.
Wow. Okay.
So by prescribing this specific delivery method for the pill, Jigong is bypassing a purely biological intervention. He is signaling that this birth is stuck because the cosmic forces in this household are totally misaligned.
So he's essentially administering a spiritual realignment.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
And the intervention works instantaneously. The medicine is administered, the crisis breaks, and the baby is born perfectly healthy.
A grandson, right?
Yes, a grandson. So Zhao Defang is ecstatic. He declares Jigong a living god and immediately orders his servants to prepare this massive celebratory feast.
As you would.
Right, totally. And there is a detail here that really sets up Jigong's entire ethos. While the rich man is fawning all over him, Jigong stops the celebration.
He puts the brakes on it.
Yeah, he stops it to make sure his two followers, Chai and Du, who are waiting outside by the estate gate, are brought inside to join the feast.
Which is amazing because he collapses the social hierarchy effortlessly right there.
Because they're just commoners, right?
Right. In a highly stratified society, the men waiting at the gate do not sit at the master's table in the inner chambers. That just doesn't happen.
But for Jigong, it's non-negotiable.
Exactly. Jigong operates in the halls of the wealthy, but his allegiances remain entirely grounded. He brings the street right into the estate.
So they are eating, drinking wine, and the relief in the room is washing over everyone. And it is in this exact moment, with defenses lowered and wine flowing, that Zhao Defang looks at this holy man across the table and decides to unburden his soul.
He confesses.
He confesses the great, dark secret of his life.
It is a confession driven by the sheer weight of sudden, unexpected grace, I think.
What do you mean?
Well, Zhao has just been handed this miracle, and it forces him to look at his own unworthiness. He admits that his massive fortune, the very estate they are eating in, the food on the table, it's entirely built on a foundation of systemic deceit.
Yeah, he tells Jigong, I was empty-handed, and I built a family estate through a hollowed-out scale.
The mercury scale.
The mercury scale, We have to dive deep into the mechanics of this cheat because it changes the entire texture of Zhao's crime.
Oh, completely.
This isn't just a merchant occasionally putting his thumb on the scale when a tired customer isn't paying attention.
No, this is premeditated, engineered fraud.
Yes, the text gives us the exact mathematical breakdown.
Mm.
Zhao explains that when he was buying goods from suppliers, his scale was rigged so that 12 ounces would register as a full 16-ounce pound.
Which is a massive markup.
Massive. But when he turned around and sold those same goods, the scale would make 14 ounces register as a full pound.
The physical mechanism required to pull this off is just ingenious in the darkest way possible.
Okay, break this down for us because it's wild.
We are talking about traditional Chinese steel yards. Picture a long wooden beam suspended by a string.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
On one end, you have a pan or a hook for the goods. On the other end, you have a counterweight that you slide along markings on the wooden beam until the beam balances perfectly horizontal.
Right, like a seesaw almost.
Sort of, yeah. But what Zhao did was he hollowed out a hidden cavity inside the wooden beam itself.
He hollowed out the wood.
Yes. He then injected liquid mercury into that cavity and sealed it.
Because mercury is a liquid metal. It's incredibly heavy, but it's fluid.
Exactly. It shifts based on gravity.
Oh, that is so devious.
It really is. By subtly altering how he held the scale, like tilting the wooden beam just a fraction of an inch up or down before the weight settled, Zhao could force that heavy liquid mercury to rush to one of the hollow cavity or the other.
So he was changing the center of gravity dynamically, like mid-transaction.
Yes, exactly, mid-transaction. When he was buying raw materials, he tilted it so the mercury rushed toward the goods, making them seem lighter than they actually were.
So he paid for 12 ounces, but walked away with 16.
Right. And then when he was selling, he tilted it the other way, making his own goods seem heavier. He charged the customer for 16 ounces, but only handed over 14.
That is just... wow. Think about the invisible architectures of theft you interact with today.
Like what?
Well, when a digital platform quietly changes its terms of service to scrape a little more of your data, or an algorithm is written to shave fractions of a cent off millions of microtransactions.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
They are essentially injecting liquid mercury into the scale.
Huh.
The balance shifts, the math lies to you, and you can't even see the mechanism at work. You just know your pockets are lighter.
It is a structural cheat. And in an agrarian economy where margins are razor thin, shaving ounces off a transaction doesn't just hurt a business, it starves families.
Yeah, people literally go hungry because of this.
Exactly. Plus, weights and measures in ancient China were deeply symbolic. They were standardized by the emperor to ensure cosmic and social harmony.
So tampering with the scale wasn't just a petty crime.
Not at all. It was viewed as tampering with reality itself.
And Zhao eventually realizes the human cost of his algorithm. He tells Jigong that around his 60th birthday, the abstraction of the numbers just vanished.
It became very real for him.
Very real. He had bought thousands of pounds of cotton from a traveling merchant, completely ripping the man off using the mercury scale. The merchant lost his entire capital on that single transaction.
His entire livelihood gone.
Gone. He was plunged into financial ruin, fell into a deep despair, and ended up dying of anger and typhoid fever in a strange town.
The realization that his wealth has a literal body count shatters Zhao.
As it should.
Definitely. I mean, at 60 years old, surrounded by his children, his daughters-in-law, his sprawling estate, the guilt finally catches up to him.
So what does he do?
He takes the mercury scale, the engine of his entire life's work, and he smashes it to pieces.
He just destroys it.
Destroys it. He resolves to never do another unethical thing in his life. In his mind, he has hit the brakes. He has balanced his own spiritual ledger.
But the universe doesn't seem to care about his repentance.
Not even a little bit.
Instead of being rewarded for finally doing the right thing, the absolute opposite happens. The destruction of the scale triggers a terrifying avalanche of tragedy.
It's brutal.
It is. Within a month of smashing it, his eldest son dies. The grief is overwhelming, and that son's widow quickly remarries and leaves the estate.
Which was a big blow to the family structure.
Right. And before Zhao can even find his footing, his second son suddenly dies, and that daughter-in-law leaves too.
It just keeps coming.
Then, just a couple months later, his third son dies, leaving behind the pregnant widow. And that widow, of course, is the woman who just endured the agonizing labor and gave birth to the grandson.
It's just a staggering sequence of events. To lose your entire lineage, one by one, in the span of a few months, precisely at the moment you have sworn to become a righteous person.
The timing is cruel.
Very. And in a culture where your sons are your legacy, your retirement plan, and the ones who will tend to your spirit in the afterlife, Zhao has been systematically annihilated.
So he is incredibly bitter about it, and frankly, who wouldn't be?
Yeah, it's hard to blame him.
He looks at Jigong and quotes an ancient cynical proverb. He says, "Building bridges makes you blind, murder, and arson gives you many children."
Basically saying, doing good deeds gets you punished while ruthless evil gets you rewarded.
Exactly. And I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening to this who feels the exact same way Zhao does.
Okay, let's hear it.
If we look at this situation, why does doing the right thing seem to trigger a horrific curse? He stopped stealing. He destroyed the weapon.
Right.
So why is the universe suddenly punishing him when he's finally trying to be good? It feels so vindictive.
It feels incredibly vindictive if you are looking at it through the lens of a linear earthly timeline, you know?
How else are we supposed to look at it?
Well, we are conditioned to expect immediate proportional rewards for good behavior. But Jigong's reaction to Zhao's bitter complaint is one of the most profound moments in the text.
What does he do?
Jigong listens to this broken, grieving man talk about his dead children, and he laughs. He just laughs.
Which seems incredibly cruel on the surface.
It does. It really does. Until he completely reframes Zhao's entire understanding of reality. Jigong isn't laughing at Zhao's pain. He is laughing at the sheer tragicomic limitation of human perception. He basically acts as a cosmic accountant, revealing the hidden books that Zhao couldn't see.
So he pulls out the real ledger.
Exactly. Jigong breaks down the deaths of the three sons, case by case. He starts with the first son. He asks Zhao, "Do you know who that first son was?"
And who of it?
Jigong reveals that the first son was the reincarnation of the cotton merchant who died of anger and typhoid fever.
Wait, what? The man Zhao effectively murdered through his fraud.
Yes. In this theological framework, a deeply wrong spirit doesn't just fade away, and they don't wait for a deity to hurl a lightning bolt on their behalf.
They handle it themselves.
Exactly. The merchant's spirit bypassed external revenge and was reborn directly into Zhao's own house. He became the heir.
That is wild.
There is a specific concept in Chinese folk religion and Buddhism called the Tai-Sai-Gi, the debt-collecting ghost.
A debt-collecting ghost.
Yes. The first son was sent specifically to extract the exact amount of wealth Zhao had stolen, likely through medical bills, lavish spending, or eventual inheritance.
So it's an inside job. The victim infiltrated the estate.
Exactly.
What about the second son?
Jigong explains that the second son was a spirit sent purely to ruin the family's fortune.
Like how?
A classic prodigal son archetype, destined to squander everything Zhao had built through deceit. He would have gambled it away, drank it away, and watched the estate crumble.
Just bleeding the family dry. And the third son, the one who just died, leaving the pregnant widow.
Jigong says the third son was the Annihilator. He was destined to bring about a massive, world-shattering disaster for the family. He would have committed a crime so severe, perhaps treason or murder, that the state would have stepped in, confiscated the entire estate, and completely wiped the Zhao name from history.
Oh, wow. Look at how the mechanics of this cosmic financial audit work. It changes everything about how we perceive misfortune.
It really does.
Because Zhao looked at his three sons and saw his greatest assets. He saw his future, his security, his legacy. But the auditor, Jigong, reveals that those assets were actually massive, toxic liabilities hiding on the balance sheet.
Right. The sons were not a blessing that was cruelly taken away. They were a curse that was mercifully averted.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. Jigong looks at Zhao and delivers the thesis of the chapter. He says, because you repented and smashed the scale, heaven actually saved you.
Saved him by letting his sons die.
Yes, because if those sons had lived, Zhao would have ended up starving to death in his old age, entirely ruined by the very children he loved. The heavens didn't punish him for smashing the scale. They intervened to liquidate his toxic assets before they could bankrupt his soul and his physical life.
So he basically initiated a painful but necessary foreclosure on his karmic debts. You can't just delete a malicious algorithm, smash the server, and say, we're good, I'm a clean business now. The money is still stolen. The structural damage to the victims is still done.
Right, the karma still has to balance.
It demands a radical trust in the unseen architecture of the universe.
You know? It really asks you to consider that the worst, most painful things that happen to you might, in some incomprehensible way, be a form of protection.
Yeah. Zhao thought his ledger was clean the moment he broke the wood, completely unaware that he had decades of back taxes owed to the cosmos.
And Jigong concludes this massive revelation by pointing to the newborn grandson in the next room.
The baby.
He says, this child born after the repentance, born with the help of the yin-yang water to realign the energies, this child is your true reward.
The slate is finally wiped clean.
Yes, the toxic assets have been cleared. This grandson will bring honor to the family and rebuild your house on a clean, solid foundation.
Wow. It's a beautiful, deeply private, spiritual resolution. But what I love about this text is that it doesn't let us linger in that quiet introspection.
No, it abruptly changes gears.
It violently pivots to a very public, chaotic display of earthly justice.
The contrast is highly intentional here. The author moves us from the quiet, wealthy inner chambers of a repentant man to the noisy, gritty streets of a city dealing with a man who has absolutely no intention of repenting.
So the very next morning, Jigong wakes up, steps out of Zhao's estate, and heads into Qingshan County. And he is basically looking to pick a fight.
He is on a mission.
He wanders down to a busy cross street and finds a massive crowd gathered outside a very imposing, ornate gate. People are shouting, they're anxious, they're pushing against each other.
Just a chaotic scene.
Yeah, and Jigong asks a bystander what's going on, and he finds out this is the medical clinic of Dr. Zhu Jingkui.
Now, the text goes out of its way to establish Dr. Zhu's elite status before we even see him.
How so?
The crowd informs Jigong that Dr. Zhu only sees exactly 20 patients a day. Not 21, 20.
Wow, just 20.
If you aren't one of the first 20 people to get a wooden tally, you are out of luck no matter how sick you are.
It is manufactured scarcity. It's the ancient equivalent of a boutique specialist who doesn't take insurance, charges a fortune, and makes you wait 6 months for a 10-minute consultation.
It absolutely is. People are lining up in the dark before dawn just for the privilege of handing him their money.
So it's a total power trip.
This scarcity model tells us immediately that we are dealing with a man of intense ego. In traditional Chinese culture, medicine was often seen as a benevolent calling, closely tied to Confucian ideals of humaneness.
Right. Healers are supposed to be selfless.
Exactly. So a doctor artificially capping his patients to drive up demand and prestige is treating medicine as a status game, not a healing art.
So Jigong, who just spent the night dissolving a miracle pill in hot and cold water for free, takes one look at this setup, marches right past the desperate crowd, straight into the entryway, and starts hollering at the top of his lungs.
He causes a total scene.
He yells, "The boss of looking at illnesses hasn't gotten up yet,"
Which is a calculated, blistering insult.
because he called him a boss.
Yeah. The gatekeeper rushes out, completely scandalized, and scolds him. He says, "Doctors aren't bosses. We don't have clerks. We have a master."
So it's a class insult.
Definitely. Calling a prestigious physician a boss strips away the intellectual and moral veneer of the profession. It reduces Dr. Zhu to a common merchant peddling wares.
But Jigong ignores the gatekeeper
Right.
and just keeps yelling for the boss.
Yeah.
And all this chaotic shouting finally disrupts the peace of the inner courtyard, and Dr. Zhu Jingkui emerges.
Finally showing himself.
Yes, and the visual contrast here is deeply cinematic. You have Jigong standing in the entryway, ragged, unwashed, his robes torn, barefoot, probably smelling like cheap wine.
Just a mess.
A total mess. And then you have Dr. Zhu. The text gives us a hyper-specific description of his outfit.
What is he wearing?
He's wearing an emerald blue scholar's hat, an emerald blue scholar's robe, a luxurious silk sash tied tightly around his waist, and thick-soled bamboo shoes. He is dressed to the absolute nines.
Okay, his clothing functions as a fortress here.
How do you mean?
Well, the semiotics of clothing in ancient China were strictly regulated and deeply meaningful. The emerald blue dye was expensive. The scholar's hat implies he is a man of letters, educated in the classics, far above manual labor.
And the shoes.
The thick-soled bamboo shoes are particularly telling. They are literally designed to elevate his feet above the muck, the dirt, and the bodily fluids of the street.
So he's physically raising himself above everyone else.
Exactly. Every single item he is wearing is a physical barrier designed to separate his pure, elite body from the contaminated commoners waiting outside his gate.
So when he sees this filthy monk ruining the aesthetic of his clinic, his immediate reaction is dismissive arrogance.
He's just annoyed.
Right. He thinks, I'll just pretend to examine this beggar, placate him, and throw him out.
So they go into the gatehouse.
Yeah, and Jigong plays along. He says, I'm sick, my body is sore, my thighs are stiff.
Okay, setting the trap.
Dr. Zhu, playing the role of the benevolent, patient-physician sighs and says, "All right, sit down. Let me check your pulse." And in response, Jigong hilariously sticks his leg out and offers his foot.
It is broad physical comedy, but it is also a surgical strike on Dr. He's authority.
How so?
In traditional Chinese medicine, pulse diagnosis motion is the absolute foundational tool. A doctor places 3 fingers on the radial artery of the wrist to read the flow of qi, blood, and the state of the internal organs.
It's very delicate.
Yes, it is an intimate, quiet practice that requires mutual respect and stillness.
And Jigong shoves a dirty foot in his face and asks, "Why don't you check my head?"
He is shattering the clinical frame. He is refusing to play the role of the subservient patient. By offering his leg, he is mocking the doctor's entire framework of expertise.
Basically saying, "Your tools are useless on me."
Exactly. He is telling Dr. Z, your diagnostic tools are useless here.
But Dr. Zhu manages to keep his composure. He finally gets Jigong's wrist, checks his pulse for a long time, and then declares with utter smug confidence, "Monk, you have no illness. Your pulse is peaceful. Your energies are balanced. You are perfectly healthy."
And this is the exact moment the comedy evaporates from the room.
Yeah, the tone shifts violently. Jigong pulls his wrist back, looks at this elite, wealthy doctor and says, "I am sick. But not only am I sick, you are sick too. And your illness cannot be cured by anyone but me."
Dr. Zhu is taken aback, obviously, the audacity of a beggar diagnosing him. He asks with a sneer, "What illness do I have?"
And Jigong delivers this devastating poetic diagnosis. He looks at Dr. Zhu's stomach and says, "You have a belly full of yin-yang ghost fetus."
Yin-yang ghost fetus.
The translation of that phrase, yin-yang gitai, is so arresting.
Let's dig into the linguistics and the psychology of this, because obviously you aren't going to find a ghost fetus in a medical textbook. What exactly is Jigong diagnosing? It is a profound somatization of guilt. A ghost fetus, in this literary context, is not a biological mass. It is a psychological tumor.
A psychological tumor.
Right. It represents a heavy, dark secret, a festering guilt, or a malicious criminal intent that the doctor is gestating inside his own body.
Gestating, like a pregnancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It plays on the idea of pregnancy, something growing in the dark, feeding off the host, eventually forcing its way out into the light. The text uses the very medical terminology Dr. Yu relies on to diagnose a total moral rot.
And the yin-yang aspect of the ghost fetus.
It suggests the duality of his existence. The yang is the public face, the emerald blue robes, the respectable clinic, the wealthy patients.
And the yin.
The yin is the hidden criminal reality rotting inside his gut. Dr. Zhu presents himself as a healer, a man of science and Confucian virtue, but Jigong's supernatural X-ray vision sees the spiritual disease eating him alive.
Man, that is powerful.
Yeah.
Dr. Su predictably is furious.
Yeah.
His fortress has been breached. He yells at Jigong, telling him he's speaking utter nonsense.
He's totally defensive.
Oh, yeah. And Jigong just smiles, a predatory little smile, and says, "Nonsense. You and I are going to have a lawsuit."
A lawsuit.
And before the doctor can even process what that means, the accusation turns physical. Jigong lunges forward, grabs Dr. Xu by his expensive, luxurious silk sash, the very symbol of his wealth and status, and literally drags him out of the clinic and into the street.
The crowd of patients tries to intervene, I'm sure.
They try, but Jigong possesses supernatural strength. He drags this perfectly manicured elite physician through the dirt, the dust, and the crowds of Changshan County, all the way to the magistrate's yamen.
Which is just a profound, visceral, public humiliation.
Yeah, he's destroying his image.
He is stripping Dr. Xu of his dignity, tearing down the walls of the clinic, and forcing him into the crushing machinery of the law.
So they arrive at the magistrate's court, and they are thrown into the main hall. The magistrate actually recognizes both of them.
So it's super awkward for the magistrate.
Incredibly awkward. The magistrate is completely bewildered to see the monk holding the doctor like a stray dog. He asks Jigong, "What is going on here? Why are you dragging Dr. Zhu into my court?"
And this is where things get really controversial.
Yes, because here is where I have to stop and push back hard on what happens next. Jigong doesn't explain the ghost fetus. He doesn't offer a spiritual critique.
Nope.
He straight up lies to the magistrate's face.
He commits brazen, undeniable perjury in a court of law.
He fabricates an entire story out of thin air. He looks at the magistrate and says, "I was staying with the wealthy Zhao Defang, and I got terribly sick. Zhao gave me 50 taels of silver to come see Dr. Zhu. But when I got into his gatehouse, Dr. Zhu took my silver, shoved it into his robes, told me I was fine, and refused to give the money back. I am suing him for theft."
Which is completely made up.
Exactly. We established that Jigong is a Buddhist master, an enlightened being. How does the text justify this? If justice requires lying under oath, isn't the system fundamentally broken? Isn't he utilizing the exact same deceitful tactics as the corrupt people he is trying to expose?
It is a brilliant point of friction, and it's central to understanding the crazy wisdom tradition we talked about. Jigong does not operate on the earthly penal code. He operates on the Tao, the fundamental truth of the universe.
Okay, but still lying.
Well, he knows Dr. Zhu is guilty of a massive, devastating crime. He can see the ghost fetus. But he also knows that if he stands in front of a bureaucratic magistrate and says, this man has bad karma in his belly, the magistrate will just throw him out for being a madman.
Because the court needs evidence.
Exactly. The earthly court is a machine that only runs on earthly evidence.
He needs a physical mechanism to trigger a search.
Precisely. He constructs a fiction, the stolen 50 taels of silver, to hack the legal system.
Hacking the system, I like that.
Yeah, he isn't bound by Confucian decorum or legal oaths because he views them as arbitrary rules that often protect the powerful. He creates a temporary illusion to shatter Dr. Zhu's permanent illusion.
He forces the magistrate into an action he wouldn't otherwise take. It's essentially swatting the doctor, but for cosmic justice.
That's a great modern parallel.
Dr. Zhu, naturally, is completely outraged. He denies everything. He yells, I didn't take any silver. I just woke up, I stepped out, he shoved his foot in my face, and then he dragged me here. Search me, I have nothing.
He thinks he's perfectly safe.
He really does. And Jigong points a dirty finger right at the doctor's waist and says, don't lie. You have it hidden right there in your sash. If you don't believe me, magistrate, make him untie his silk sash and shake it out in front of everyone.
This is the moment the jaws of the trap finally snap shut.
The magistrate, needing to resolve this absurd dispute, orders Dr. Zhu to prove his innocence. Dr. Zhu is entirely confident. He knows for an absolute fact he didn't steal any silver from this monk. He unties the beautiful silk sash with a flourish.
Picture the heavy silence in that courtroom.
Oh man, the magistrate leaning forward, the guards watching. Dr. Zhu smugly shakes out the long silk fabric. No silver falls out.
But
something else does. A single crumpled piece of paper flutters to the stone floor.
the color drains from Dr. Zhu's face.
Instantly.
He realizes instantly what was hidden in the folds of his clothing, and he lunges to snatch it off the floor. But Jigong is faster. He grabs the paper and hands it directly up to the magistrate's desk.
So what was the respectable doctor hiding in his clothes?
The magistrate smooths out the crumpled paper. It is a draft of a letter, heavily scribbled over, crossed out, and edited.
What does it say?
It reads, Lei Ming and Chen Liang are wicked thieves, widely connected to the Greenwood Outlaws. The recent prison break and jail rebellion were orchestrated because Yun Fang is their close relative.
Stop the press. We have gone from a petty dispute over 50 taels of silver to a massive violent conspiracy.
It escalates immediately.
Greenwood Outlaws, prison breaks. What are we actually looking at here? Why does a wealthy doctor have a drafted letter exposing organized crime?
We have to unpack the historical weight of this letter because it exposes the exact nature of the ghost fetus.
Okay, tell me about the Greenwood Outlaws.
In ancient China, Greenwood Outlaws, Lulin, were bandit networks. These were organized rebels, martial artists, and criminals living outside the law in the mountains and forests.
So like Robin Hood types, but more dangerous.
Much more dangerous. Accusing someone of being allied with Greenwood Outlaws, and specifically accusing them of orchestrating a violent prison break, is an accusation of high treason against the state.
Treason.
Yes. The penalty for this would be immediate execution, often of the accused and their entire extended family.
So Dr. Shoes wasn't just writing a letter to the editor. He was drafting a lethal weapon.
Exactly.
But why? This is the missing piece of the puzzle. We have a dead sworn brother, a widow, a forged letter about a prison break. How did these pieces fit together? What was Dr. Zhu's master plan?
The text reveals a terrifying calculated conspiracy. Dr. Zhu coveted two things: the lucrative pharmacy business owned by his sworn brother and his sworn brother's wife, the widow Sun Kangxi.
So he's going after his own brother's life.
Essentially, yes. Dr. Zhu used his position as a physician to either poison his sworn brother or purposefully allow him to die of his illness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and once the brother was dead, Dr. Zhu tried to move in on the widow and the business. However, the widow rejected him and shut him out.
Good for her.
But furthermore, Lei Ming and Chen Liang,
So they were a threat to him.
a massive threat. So how does a doctor eliminate a threat without getting his own hands bloody?
He uses the state's legal machinery as an assassin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dr. Ju's rivals would be annihilated by the government, leaving him completely free to subjugate the younger brother, isolate the widow, and absorb the family's wealth.
It is breathtakingly evil. It is a hollowed-out scale on a macroscopic level. He is using the legal system itself to murder his enemies.
It really is.
Suddenly, the ragged monk steps back, and the hard-boiled detective steps forward. The magistrate looks at this explosive piece of evidence, looks down at the terrified doctor, and asks, where did this come from?
And Dr. Xu just panics.
Yeah, Dr. Xu, his arrogance entirely shattered, his emerald robe suddenly looking very foolish, stammers out a weak lie. He says, I just found it in the courtyard this morning. I picked it up and put it in my sash.
It is a pathetic defense.
Completely. The magistrate immediately calls him out. You just woke up. You haven't seen any patients. How could you find a perfectly drafted, edited note implicating specific locals in treason just lying in your private yard?
It makes zero sense.
And Jigong doesn't even let the doctor breathe. He takes complete control of the courtroom. He yells out to the guards, bring in the witnesses. And he specifically demands they retrieve a woman named Sun Kangxi.
And this is where we see Jigong transition from supernatural instigator to a master of psychological warfare.
Right, because he's not using magic anymore?
Nope. He isn't using magic to solve the crime. He is pulling on the invisible, fraying threads of social relationships.
Let's look at witness 1, Sun Kangxi. She is brought into the intimidating environment of the Yamen, and she immediately recognizes Dr. Xu. The magistrate asks how they know each other.
And she explains her background.
Yeah, she explains she's a widow. Her late husband owned a successful local pharmacy, and he was sworn brothers with Dr. Xu.
We have to emphasize how sacred a sworn brotherhood jibai was in this culture.
It's a big deal, right?
Huge. Going all the way back to the romance of the Three Kingdoms with Guan Yu, Liu Bei, and Zhang Fei, a sworn brotherhood was a bond considered tighter and more demanding than actual blood.
Like chosen family.
Yes. They were business partners, confidants, and chosen family. To betray a sworn brother was a moral failing of the highest order.
Sun Kangxi testifies that when her husband fell ill, Dr. Xu was the primary physician treating him. When her husband died under his care, Dr. Xu stepped in to organize the funeral. It looks like the actions of a devoted friend.
On the surface, sure.
But then she drops a subtle, devastating detail. She tells the magistrate that shortly after the funeral, she explicitly asked Dr. Xu to stop visiting her house. Why? She uses a specific phrase. A widow's door attracts gossip.
A widow's door attracts gossip. That is a loaded, heavily coded statement.
What does she really mean by that?
Well, it highlights the incredibly strict, often suffocating social protocols regarding female chastity and propriety during the Ming, Qing, and Southern Song dynasties.
Right.
Widows were under immense pressure to remain chaste. Some were even rewarded with stone arches by the government for never remarrying. A widow had to fiercely protect her reputation because gossip could literally destroy her livelihood and her standing in the community.
So she's protecting her reputation. But there is a much darker undercurrent here, isn't there?
Exactly. Beneath the polite social boundary of avoiding gossip, there is a sinister reality. Dr. Xu was her husband's physician. The husband mysteriously died under his care. Now, the powerful doctor is constantly lingering around the isolated widow's house.
He's circling his prey.
The text heavily implies that Dr. Xu's interest was predatory. Sun Kangxi recognized the danger he posed, both to her reputation and to her physical safety, and she bravely shut the door on him. She severed the connection.
Wow. It paints a horrifying picture of a predator lurking behind the respectable titles of uncle and doctor.
It really does.
And Jigong knows the widow's testimony only establishes motive, not proof of the conspiracy. So he immediately pivots to witness 2. He calls for Sun Erhu, the younger brother of the deceased pharmacy owner.
And the dynamic between Sun Erhu and Dr. Xu is completely different from the widow, but it is equally toxic.
How so?
It reveals how Dr. Xu operates when he can't use romantic or physical intimidation.
Okay. So Sun Erhu comes to the stand, trembling in front of the magistrate. He looks over at Dr. Xu and greets him by calling him uncle.
Which immediately sets off red flags.
Exactly. The magistrate, who is an expert in social hierarchies, is instantly suspicious. He stops the proceedings and says, wait a minute, this doctor was sworn brothers with your older brother. By law and custom, you are his equal in generation. You should be calling him brother. Why are you calling him uncle?
The magistrate recognizes a linguistic anomaly. The social hierarchy has been artificially warped.
And Sun Erhu, terrified, confesses why. He tells the court, "It's true, we used to be brothers. But I have a gambling problem, and I constantly borrow money from him. 10 streams of cash here, 8,000 cash there. I'm in so much debt to him, I don't dare look him in the eye and call him an equal anymore. I have to call him uncle to show respect."
It's all about financial leverage.
Financial debt has completely rewritten their social standing. Dr. Seuss has used his vast wealth to subjugate the younger brother, turning an equal family member into a subservient, terrified dependent.
Dr. Zhu isn't just a boutique physician. He is a loan shark, systematically isolating the widow and buying the compliance of the brother.
It is textbook predatory isolation.
He has built a web of financial and social leverage. He thinks he is untouchable because he owns the people who could testify against him.
And this is where Jigong springs the final lethal trap. He sees the profound psychological vulnerability of his son Erhu. He knows Erhu feels fundamentally inferior and hopelessly indebted to Dr. Zhu.
So what does he do?
Jigong turns to the magistrate and says, "This man is part of the conspiracy. Torture son Erhu. Put him in the clamps."
Whoa!
Yeah. The magistrate at this point recognizes that the monk is peeling back layers of a massive crime, and he essentially cedes control of the interrogation to Jigong. He orders the yamen guards to prepare the jiagun, the wooden clamps used to crush a suspect's ankles or fingers to extract a confession.
Those are brutal.
The heavy wooden boards are brought out. The guards grab Erhu. The terror in the room is absolute, and right as they are about to apply the clamps, Jigong leans in and casually throws out the most brilliant lie of the entire chapter.
Another lie.
Yep. He looks at the trembling Erhu. "You might as well confess. Zhu Jingkui already told us everything."
It is a flawless, devastating execution of the prisoner's dilemma.
Let's break down the game theory here, because it is psychological perfection.
Okay, let's do it.
For anyone not familiar, the prisoner's dilemma is a scenario where two accomplices are interrogated separately. The interrogators tell each one that their partner has already flipped and confessed.
Right.
If you stay silent and your partner talks, you take all the blame and get the maximum sentence. If you both talk, you share the blame. The logic of self-preservation almost always forces the suspect to confess, completely destroying their alliance.
And it works instantaneously here because Jigong has weaponized the social hierarchy Dr. Zhu built.
Because Erhu feels beneath him.
Yes. Son Erhu is already terrified of the physical agony of the torture clamps. But more importantly, he is psychologically subordinate to Dr. Zhu. He views Yu as the alpha, the uncle, the mastermind.
Oh, I see where this is going.
When Jigong says Yu has already confessed, Erhu's logic is immediate and absolute. If the powerful, wealthy Dr. Zhu couldn't withstand the pressure and spoke, what obligation do I, the lowly debtor, have to protect him?
The loyalty evaporates in a second. Erhu shouts, "No need for torture. If Zhu spoke, I will too."
He folds immediately.
And without a single clamp being tightened, Erhu proceeds to sing like a bird. He confesses the entire intricate plot, linking the forged letter, the framing of Lei Ming and Shen Liang, the Greenwood outlaws, and the doctor's grand conspiracy to steal the pharmacy and the widow.
It is a breathtaking sequence.
It really is. Jigong didn't use a single magic spell in that courtroom. He didn't read their minds. He didn't summon spirits.
He didn't need to.
No. He used his deep, incisive understanding of human weakness, the crushing leverage of financial debt, the weight of guilt, and the inherent fragility of trust among criminals to blow the whole case wide open.